changes. Press the button, subscribe.
Fight fans, welcome. It's another fight week. These fight weeks are coming thick and fast. I've got a great guest here with me again today, Mr. Neutral. The last time he was on my show, he was dancing to the theme tune at the start, but he's looking happy today, but he's not dancing. How you doing, mate?
Very well. I was dancing,
Was ya?
but I just stopped just in time for the camera.
Thanks for coming on again, mate. It's great to have you on. This is an all-Irish fantastic fight. North versus South. Crocker versus Donovan. Coming live from Belfast. Fantastic fight, do you agree?
Oh, yes. This welterweight affair is probably the best welterweight the British Isles and Ireland could produce. Two fantastic unbeaten prospects, or not prospects, these are contenders now.
Yeah, good.
And they're at their primes. And I was Lewis Crocker. He was very, very focused and determined, and was Paddy Donovan, but he appeared a bit more relaxed and fan friendly, media friendly. But my goodness, it's going to be fireworks, I think.
Yeah, it's a fantastic fight. I mean, you've got Lewis Crocker, 20 fights, 20 wins. And then you've got Paddy Donovan, 14 fights, 14 wins. Crocker, 11 KOs. Paddy Donovan, also 11 KOs. This is a final eliminator for the IBF welterweight title, which Jaron Boots Ennis currently occupies. So they'll guaranteed get a shot. Obviously, Boots Ennis has got his unification fight coming up against Stanionis. Cracking fight, but obviously we're here to talk about Crocker versus Donovan. This has all the makings of a classic for me. I think it's I don't think we're actually going to see the final ballet. I think it's going to go before the distance. I'll come to what your prediction is first and how you think the fight will go. So, do you want to give us some analysis how you think the fight will go, mate?
Yeah. I'm looking at a Lewis Crocker stoppage. Championship rounds. I think all of the good work is going to come in the early rounds with Paddy Donovan. He is the boxer of the two, but with a mix of power in there as well. But for me, Lewis Crocker's got unreal power, and I think that is going to be his greatest weapon on Saturday night. And I think he's solid for me. He can take punches, and I think what Donovan will land on him will be just good scoring punches rather than hurtful, impactful punches. So I'm actually predicting Lewis Crocker to tire him out, come on strong, and just put on combination after combination that will land to maybe a referee stoppage, TKO.
Do you think there's a case here of Crocker having better opponents than Donovan so far? I mean, you look at, Crocker 20 fights, Paddy Donovan 14. Would you say that Lewis Crocker has had the better opponent so far? For example, last time out, Conor Walker, I was at that fight in Birmingham, excellent fight. Some people actually thought that Conor Walker could have nicked that fight. I was there and I slightly edged it to Crocker. But when you look at last opponents, when you talk about Conor Walker, his last fight against Harry Scarf, he was getting totally dominated, which is fair to say, Conor Walker was. And then Harry Scarf, just a moment of lackadaisicalness, gets caught, the fight gets finished, and Harry Scarf loses his title and Conor Walker wins. So there is a factor that Conor Walker can be completely outboxed, but Lewis Crocker didn't do that to Conor Walker. So do you think there's a case that Paddy Donovan, who is a very slick southpaw, do you think there's a case that Paddy Donovan could outbox Lewis Crocker?
Absolutely. That's what I think I was saying there before. The real good work in the first, I would say, 6-8 rounds is going to come from Paddy Donovan. I just think he's going to get outpowered. after all of his best work, it'd be a mental thing then. And Lewis Crocker for me is very, very strong-willed in that ring.
Yeah.
And that could be the breakdown for me of Paddy Donovan, who for me, he looks good, doesn't he? I mean, that southpaw style is going to cause many, many boxers problems anyway. But yeah, I can see the outbox. But for me, has Paddy Donovan got that experience that Lewis Crocker's got? I don't know.
Well, I've got some notes written down here when I've analysed both their performances recently.
Yeah,
I think Lewis Crocker has to concentrate a little bit. His stamina has lacked at times a little bit, I think, in some of his fights, particularly against Conor Walker. His stamina looked like he was really struggling. I mean, Billy Nelson's his coach. Andy Lee is the coach of Paddy Donovan. So it's the rematch, really, from Bacoli and Parker, isn't it? These two coaches are coming head to head again. Billy Nelson,
yes.
Billy Nelson, your fellow countryman. I mean, would you say that Crocker is the aggressor in the fight, even though Paddy Donovan's got the more KO percentage? Would you say that Crocker is the more aggressive one in the fight?
Yeah, certainly. In all his fights, he's the one. He's the pressure fighter. He's the one on the front foot, and this will be no different. Paddy Donovan, he's got that luxury of that. I would say, and I agree with you, a slightly better boxing sense about him. He'll back off and counter and come back in and try and play it cute. But this is that stamina sapping against the guy that just constantly comes forward. And for me, he'd have to engage Lewis early and really engage well to get Lewis's respect for him to back off. That is maybe a problem for me. I think Lewis Crocker is one of them dominantly mental boxers in that ring. And, some of his stoppages have just been absolutely vicious compared to Paddy Donovan's, Jose Felix, for instance, Tyrone McKenna win was a real, standard setter. Cause,
it was good, yeah.
McKenna's, very well thought of, and obviously, that's that standard that he's been at.
Yeah.
Paddy Donovan been fighting at that standard. It's yet to be proven.
Well, when you we talk about last opponents, there's a couple of common opponents here. Lewis Ritson was Paddy Donovan's last opponent, stoppage in the 9th round of 10. Good win. But then Lewis Ritson last time fought Conor Walker, and they went the distance. So there's a bit of a triangle here happening, isn't there, with last opponents. But it's just the only thing for me with the Crocker. I think Crocker will win this fight by a stoppage. I just think at this stage he'll be a little bit too much for Paddy Donovan and wear him down and grind the result out, and probably possibly a TKO or the towel comes in or something.
Yeah.
But it's just the Conor Walker fight for me where I was a little bit surprised how Crocker struggled at times. But styles make fights, and Conor Walker did possibly bring a different style that Crocker didn't like, and he struggled with it a little bit, whereas Paddy Donovan's style possibly will play into the hands a little bit of Crocker, the way he can get his work off. But it's a fascinating fight, and I think it's going to be a war white last year.
I think the reason why Conor Walker made it so close is because he's a pressure fighter as well. He comes first. He made that uncomfortable for Lewis Crocker, and this is what Paddy Donovan needs to recreate for me to, slug it out for 12 rounds.
Yeah, I think Paddy Donovan, another weakness from what I've picked up with him, I think he's a very slick boxer, but I think at times he drops his hands a little bit low, and I think he can be open where that will suit Crocker. But I think he's a good counter puncher, and I think he can do well on the back foot as well. I mean, when you look at the style of the fight, I think Crocker will be the one to be the aggressor, and I think Donovan will have to go on the back foot. But I think he is good on the back foot. But I just think Crocker, 20 fights into his career, better opponents. Donovan, 14 fights into his career. I just think Crocker's going to have a bit too much for a KO win, probably round 6 to 8. What round would you go for, or within rounds?
I would go a little bit later than that. I think it'll take a while for him to. But then again, it's one of them. If he hits Paddy Donovan with what I know he can hit him, especially that left hook of his. Round 6 could be deemed generous. So it's going to be a fascinating affair, darling. I can't wait.
Fascinating all-Irish clash, North versus South. Brilliant fight to look forward to on Saturday on DAZN. Couple of fights on the undercard. This one with chief support. Craig Spider Richards in a light heavyweight contest against Paddy McCra. Like this fight, but I think we'll probably be in agreement here. This could be sort of like last chance saloon for Craig Richards to get back to world level where he thinks he'll be.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at his resume there, losing to Dimitri Bevell, Joshua Buatsi, who just fought this Saturday in an absolute barnstormer. With Callum Smith there, and of course last time he was in Riyadh to Willie Hutchinson, that 117, 111. He was totally outboxed. Some people say it was not the same Spider Richards they'd seen against Willie Hutchinson. It just something wasn't right, and there was all that kerfuffle before in the pre-fight build-up. Allegedly, things were said and that. So maybe that all put him out. But I'm expecting Spider Richards to come back into this fight, knowing that he's fighting nowhere near that class.
Yeah,
and he can then get some faith back in himself and just show what he can do. And looking at that press conference there today, that's exactly what he's saying.
Yeah,
he was reiterating that, this is, I'm back, and I'm going to be showing what I can do back at the top level. Podrick McCrory, fantastic. Again, another fantastic boy. I like Podrick. I really do.
He gives it his all, that's for sure, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's honest boxer. You know what you're going to get with Podrick, but he struggled in this last fight against Carrello, 17-5. Before that, he got knocked clean out by Edgar Berlanga.
Yeah.
And a less than convincing win before that, a unanimous decision against Steed Woodall. So, he's got it all to do for me in this fight with Craig Richards. But again, a lot to prove for both guys. Lots of stake.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about like fighters on resumes here, you are right. I mean, you look at Craig Richards, when you look at Buatsi, Willie Hutchinson, Dimitri Bivol, they just speak for themselves. I mean, I thought he actually done very well against Bivol. I thought he put in a very good performance. When you look at like where Bivol is now, it's a fantastic performance, really. And
absolutely.
And when you look at McCrory, he hasn't fought at this level. Okay, he's been in with Berlanga, and then we know Berlanga fought Canelo after that and lost on points, but creditable display. So it wasn't such a bad defeat, but I just feel Craig Richards is going to have a little bit too much experience here from McCrory, knowing he needs to get back to world level. But I don't think he'll stop McCrory. I think Craig Richards will probably win this on points with a sort of, I won't say a boxing clinic, but I think he'll just show the masterful boxing skills over McCrory. How do you see the verdict going?
I've got to agree with you. McCrory's 36 now. He's not fought at that level that, although at Berlanga, excuse me, was, not considered world level at that point, and that he was going to take a title, anything off Canelo, but that is an indicator he's not that far away. But he's 36. Craig is, it's last chance saloon, possibly down for both fighters. Yeah. So again, in front of the Irishman and the home crowd, Craig Richards, he's going to have to work hard.
Yeah, exactly.
For
that is the away.
Win.
Yeah, I agree. Good point. I mean, he's the away fighter, but I still think his points win here will be pretty dominant. Where I know I'm coming in talk about bullshit judges' scorecards a lot, but I don't think this is going to be one where they will be able to swing it the other way. I think it will be a rather convincing win. I'd like to think so anyway, obviously, as the Brit, and I like Craig Richards. And I think he still can have another little bit of a go at world level and be in some decent fights. But it's another really good fight, co-main event, chief support, another really, really good fight. It's a nice card. The next fight I want to come on to, which will be the last one we'll preview, the returning of Tommy McCarthy against Stephen Ward, cruiserweight fight. Tommy McCarthy here and Stephen Ward, is this last chance saloon here really to get back to where Tommy McCarthy thinks he should be?
Oh yeah, very much so. 34 again. Both of them, Stephen Ward as well, 34 years of age. McCarthy, the Londoner, now lives in Belfast, 21-6. Defeats, 10 wins by way of knockout, 4 defeats by knockout. His last performance against Ryan LeBon, who was not 0-19-2. And it was a whitewash, but after losing to obviously Siobhan Clark, getting knocked out, and before that previously Cheslak, his morale levels must have been so down that he needed that fight against Ryan LeBon. So Tommy McCarthy, yes, once thought of good prospect, but he's never seemed to be given that position to really stamp on, move on. Same with Stephen Ward, and this is guaranteed for me to be a slugfest because you've got the Englishman, born Englishman, now lives in Belfast against a Belfast lad. And he had he's probably got the higher level of fighting. He's fought in Riyadh, he's fought in Kazakhstan, all over Europe. But his last fight for the IBF International Cruiserweight vacant title against Uldidaj, the German boy. But he was knocked out in stopped in round 5. He's fought at that, I've gone around Europe. Tommy's more or less fought at home all the time. British Isles. So I feel Ward has probably felt that better level, but has suffered a big defeat. Whereas you got McCarthy suffers a big defeat at British level. To Siobhan Clark, European level to Michael Cheslak, and he needed a really easy fight to come back, but was less than convincing. You should have put that boy away. Being he's never won a fight, this chap. But so again, fascinating, hard to judge. But I'm going to go for Stephen Ward points victory.
Interesting. Well, I was going to say Tommy McCarthy, and I think this opponent is picked here sort of like a safety first for Tommy McCarthy because of he has been stopped twice in his last 4 fights. So I think like what they're picking here with Stephen Ward is a guy who's only knocked 4 people out. So I think they're looking for a safety first opponent, and maybe to get Tommy McCarthy over the line. I think it'll be something like a points win for Tommy McCarthy. I think he's just a little bit better. And I think they're looking for a guy for him to look good with the low stoppage on his record, Stephen Ward. So I would agree with you. I think it will go the distance, but I think Tommy McCarthy will just have a little bit too much. I was just having a look at the rankings here. Well, Tommy McCarthy's number 97 in the world, and like Stephen Ward 256. So I just think he's slightly better, Tommy McCarthy. But it's another good fight on the card, and there's also some other fights on the card, but I wanted to pick like the main 3 for us on here to preview, and I'm really looking forward to this night of boxing on Saturday. You too?
Yeah, can't wait. We'll be doing a watch along for it on our channel, but it's going to be a good night of British boxing. Yeah,
I mean a lot of these, like the all Irish main event, the crowd as well, the atmosphere is absolutely fantastic. The Irish know how to come out and show their support for their boxers.
Oh, absolutely.
So
it's going to be a very noisy affair. I can see home support for their boxers. It's it's a couple of fights in there that are England versus Ireland. So you're going to get
brilliant.
supporters from both sides of the IRC, absolutely giving that place a rocking atmosphere.
Yeah, they
wait.
know how to come out and show their support. They really do. So another exciting night of boxing on Saturday night on DAZN. Make sure you tune in. Thanks for coming on my channel again, Mr. Neutral. Appreciate all your support to the channel and coming on and giving your excellent analysis of fights and previews as well. Appreciate it, mate.
Thank you, mate.
And if everyone can like, subscribe, and interested in your comments to see how you think these fights will go. Everyone's opinion is appreciated. Whether you like ours, that's up to you. Whether you don't, that's perfectly fine too. Everyone, thanks for supporting my channel. More subscriptions would be greatly appreciated. I'm already doing very well for the start that I've had as well. So thanks for coming on again, mate, and cheers to everyone to watching. Thank you and enjoy the fight Saturday.